Oh, here's Diego, and here's Beryl as well. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Beryl.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, sorry we're late. We got one of those horrible, I'm in the wrong Zoom room. Anyway, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm just an observer and here's a couple of questions. He is a man, so I'll just mute myself and listen in.
Okay.
Okay. So just sorry, just bear with me. I'm just getting my. Okay, so just before I start, I went through your questions, DJ. Thank you for those. I'll address those. But the key sort of thrust of this demo is extended enterprise. I just wanted to first of all check in just to see what sort of motivated your interest in it, so that I can just steer towards those issues. Is there another organization that you're looking at putting on the platform?
Not necessarily. Well, there are other groups within Akamai who we are looking at having the ability for them to utilize the platform. One of those is Andrew's Akamai University group, and partially because theirs is. The majority of theirs is instructor-led training, and there's challenges with keeping the content separate, making sure we can't accidentally push paid training content to free trainings, and regardless of the fact that there's a lot of our own accountability that comes in with that. I think he's just trying to mitigate as many risks as possible. So there's that. There's a couple other opportunities where it makes sense for us to have a different pathway for people to get to content. So we're just looking at all the options at this point.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Okay, right. So I'll talk a little bit about extended enterprise, just how it works and how it's set up and what it's for, and then I'll just sort of walk through some of the processes and some of the features that it brings out in the platform. But essentially, and I will just share my screen. Let's do that. What's my Zoom there? Hang on. Bear with me a moment. Share screen. Here we go. So you should be seeing. Right, should be seeing the demo system there. So I'll just sign out for a moment. So what we're used to when we use the Shabo is obviously a sign-in page. So think of the sign-in page as being the front door. And when we log in, whether I'm a super admin, but it's pretty much the same for a user. When we get inside, we've got, if you like, a front hall or a vestibule, if I can put it that way, a landing page. If we are in a single domain or non-extended enterprise scenario, that front door, that login page is going to be the same for everyone. And the landing page, obviously, we can distinguish by branch or by group and so forth. So we can tailor the landing page, but certainly all of the elements of identity are going to be essentially the same for all users. So things like the logo, pretty much everything above this line, the color scheme and so forth are going to be, I mean, to take this example, they're going to be Shabo, and the footer if we have one as well. So our different users can have different menus, but they are essentially on the same platform and see the same identity, if you like. So the purpose of Extended Enterprise is, if you like, to create another or many other front doors or login pages to the system, and also to create different identities. So to take your example, let's say we were dealing with Akamai University. What we might want people to do is to log into a separate page with different graphics on it and different identity. We may have different single sign-ons, different methods of registration, different methods of getting users on board. And all of those things can be specific to Akamai University if we use Extended Enterprise. So there's a couple of, sorry, correct that. There's what we do when we set up Extended Enterprise. So if the app is installed, we have a, and you can see I've got quite a few already set up here. We have a couple of decisions to make. The first is what URL we would like them to visit. And the second is which branch we want those users to go in. So the way that the platform works is when we create a new domain, what it will do is work with a single branch in the hierarchy. So if I just duck back in, I'll just set this up momentarily. It won't take me very long. So if we create a new branch, and I'll call this Akamai University. Oops. And AU, I'll call it. And I'll just stick it alongside stick it in the demo one here. So there we go. And once I do that, I can then go and set my domain up. So I'm going to imagine that we will probably have a custom URL for Akamai University, but so I'm in the wrong place there. But at the moment, I'm just going to create a subdomain for it. So a subdomain off the main one. So that will create a new client here. And Akamai University. Now, if we've got the URL, we would set the new domain there, and we would just enter it there in much the same way that we do with the core domain, but just I'll just put a subdomain in there, and we associate that with our the branch we've just created, which I think will be down. Gosh, we've got quite a few there. That branch there. And I'll just say done there for now. Now, what that means is that we now have a completely separate URL. So if I just grab that domain there, and bearing in mind this, of course, can be our own domain. I'll just drop back into the this platform here, and I'll just paste our domain in there, and we'll see that that new domain directs us to another page. Now that landing page looks very like the original one here. So what we will perhaps want to do is make some changes to that. So having done that, all of the settings that we associate with the sign-in page and with the login, pretty much many of the advanced settings can be made specific to that domain. So for instance, if I go in here, you'll see that I can customize pretty much all of these settings: the e-commerce, the self-registration, the single sign-on, language settings, and so forth for this platform. But probably the easiest thing to do is to change the sign-in page. So we could have, instead of the background color, I'll just put any old color in there. Let's pick that. And we can change the custom colors as well. So I'll just make a few changes just to make the point. So we've got the color code there. So I'll pick a different, slightly different main color there. Oops, custom settings. Let's make it slightly lighter blue. There we go. We can apply custom CSS and custom settings to the course player as well. Now, having applied those, what we find is that domain, which is, oops, sorry, wrong one. There it is. Should now find, if I refresh that screen, that now has a completely different look and feel there. So I've lost my background image. It hasn't replaced it with the color, I don't think. I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but essentially all of that can be made specific to Akamai University. So our users, once when they log on, can be restricted only to that domain. So we've got a choice. We can say we can, if we have a user in that domain, we can ensure that they only log into that domain and can't access any other, they can't access the main domain or any other of the domains. So we can control what the, we can control what those users or where those users can get in. Right, so those are the key settings. All of these platform settings here can be made specific to the domain, so terms and conditions and privacy policy can be separate, the white label. Once the user is onto the platform, they are essentially within the branch structure of the main, the same branch structure that the rest of the users are. So that means that the menu that they see when they log in will be driven by the menu rules that we set up when we manage menus. So we would probably make a menu specific to that branch that we've set up here. So our Akamai branch, wherever it's gone, there we are, Akamai University branch, we would make it specific, and it would, exactly the same rules for menus would apply to the domain users as they would the extended enterprise users as would to the original domain. I'm not quite sure why it's not bringing my color up there, but essentially, hopefully you can see that we've got a different sign-on page there. And we've got sort of different.
So Peter, I got a quick question there about the menus. So if you didn't create a new menu for it, does it come up with a default menu, or does it come up with a menu similar? It comes up with the menu options that are available to the main page, the original page. And you would either have to utilize one of those or you would have to create a new one, basically.
Yeah, it simply applies exactly the same rules that it would apply for a normal user. So if I was doing this, what I would probably do is set up a, so if we go into manage menus, of course, if you log in as a normal user, it will simply go through the menu list until it finds a menu that you're eligible for. And that's exactly what it will do for this additional one as well. So what you would probably do is you would create an extra menu called Akamai University, and you would simply associate it with that branch that I created. And then that would give a separate menu to the Akamai University people. Now, if you didn't do that, it would simply follow exactly the same rules that it would for any other user and revert them to the default if it couldn't establish a it couldn't otherwise establish a menu. Yeah. Sorry, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you say that it's an additional branch. Does that mean that it also has accessibility to the same central repository and things of that nature?
Yes, that once if you take my sort of house analogy, we've got a different front door. When we go in, we have a we have different decoration, if I can put it that way. We've got different branding up here. I'll just bear with me a moment, and I'll just I've got a demo user here, and I just want to drop them into the Akamai branch, and I should be able to log in as them. There it is. Let's put her in there. Okay, so if I log that user in. Let me set the privacy policy. Now, it all looks very similar now, but you can see my main colors have changed there. I haven't changed the logo, so it's reverted to that. But that page there is whatever page is appropriate to that branch. Now, once we get in there, all of the rules around visibility and courses and repositories are common to all users. So you will need to use the visibility rules and the branches and the groups to present those extended enterprise users with the correct content. So this, I mean, this user is a demo user. So she is seeing all of the content that we assigned to her in the other demo that we would have done for her. So what the extended enterprise domain does is it controls the entry to the platform, the presentation within the platform. And once you're in there, the users are, extended enterprise users are treated pretty much the same as normal users. So all of any course you can make available either way. I think one of the points you mentioned at the top was to prevent, say, university users being presented with, courses with a charge associated with them, costed courses, and to avoid that crossover. Was that right?
Close. So apparently Akamai University has test material that they provide for certification, and that material is of course paid for. And so the concern is how, from their standpoint, they want to ensure that that material cannot accidentally be pushed to a free course. And like I said, I know that there's accountability on the administrators for ensuring that they are double checking the content regardless, because it doesn't matter whether it's that or something else. It's very easy, if you're not paying attention and you don't have a process in place, to push the wrong thing to the wrong course. So I understand that, but I think I was wondering multi-tenant wise if there was any type of gating there that kept content being published accidentally from one branch to another. But it seems that it's not. It's kind of like being able to take the furniture out of one room and put it into another.
That's exactly right. Yeah, once you get through the front hall, it is up to you as an administrator to control who visits where in the house. So if you've got content in your central learning object repository, that could in principle be pushed to any course. And what you would typically do is, let me just go back to the main platform here. So obviously you can control with your catalogs, your course catalog, you can restrict the visibility. If I pick a catalog here, we can restrict the visibility to our Akamai University branch, but there is nothing to stop an administrator there's no hard sort of firewall down the middle that stops content from one platform, from one side, being used on the other, it's up to you to allocate the visibility of the catalogs and the courses and so forth to make sure that doesn't happen. And the reason for that is obviously because in many cases, people will want to make the same content available to internal and external users, or to users on the domain.
I may clarify on a point. I was just going to say, Peter, I was just going to say, so you may have said it, but I didn't catch quite that bit. Just to reassure you all, if you're a super administrator in the platform, you can see everything in the platform. But what one tends to do is set up somebody in another organization with the maximum power user permissions, which allows them to completely control the day-to-day running of the LMS, and they can't see anybody else or anybody else's content in the platform. But some organizations, if they're actually an organization that's part of Akamai, you might choose to give the head person at the university, for example, access as a super administrator, and that means that they can see all of your stuff as well. So that's the only thing you have to worry about with accessibility, is who's going to be the super admin, because the super admin is like, dare I say it, a deity in the system, and they can see absolutely everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because you could also, you can always, you can give a power user power over a certain number of courses. So when we set power user profiles up, we can say, well, okay, doesn't come up there. Let's just go back in there. So if you have an Akamai University power user, what you can do is assign the Akamai University courses, and they will only be able to see those courses and edit those courses. And we can restrict that by course, by learning plan, or by category. So if you organize your courses into categories, that power user can only work in the Akamai University category. But that would just mean setting up a power user profile for them. Okay. What else can I say about extended enterprise? If we have single sign-on, we can enable it or disable it differentially between the domains. So if we've got, as I think we've got here, we've got the, I think it's SAML here. We can have SAML for the internal and not for the external. Those are the main elements of the differences. The look and feel is what most people want to change. And as I mentioned, you can put your own domain there. You don't have to rely on a subdomain. I think those are the main components. I can't think of anything else around the extended enterprise. Were there any other questions you had, Jeff, around that?
None that jump out right this minute. DJ might have a couple of other questions.
Yes,
not trying to put her on the spot, but I just want to make sure that we.
Pretty cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I was just going to say it's a pretty cool thing. I've got an extended enterprise platform. We're running one down here for small clients that can't afford the Chabo, because you know the Chabo starts at 300. We often get inquiries from people who've only got like 50 users and things like that. So I've been starting to put them on my platform as separate entities within. And I explained to them up front that they won't have the super administrative rights, but they, they're a power user, for example. And yeah, it works really, really well. So I've got quite a few organizations in my own Docebo platform, which Docebo sanctions. And it, and it's really good. They all log into their own area. They can't see anybody else. They're oblivious, really. It's just like having your own LMS. The only thing is, they can't do their own site configurations. Anything that affects the whole platform has to be done by super admin. I hope that maybe clarifies a bit, but I just thought I'd pop that in because I'm using mine all the time.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
I have one quick question.
Is Diego?
Yeah, this is Diego. Hi. Just wanted to know, or to confirm, this is basically one shared user database for all the instances, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So you would have it is a single instance of Docebo with separate sign-in pages and branding and single sign-on settings.
Okay, so basically the administration is going to be like one parent instance that manages the rest of the instances in form of branches, right? That's the configuration.
That's right. Yeah. So your super admin, let's say but for the sake of argument, you had 5 additional domains. Your super admin would be responsible for setting up those 5 additional branches. Would then set up the go into extended enterprise. I mean, would effectively have the view that I'm getting here. Would go into extended enterprise and set in. I mean, you can see quite a few more than 5 here. Would set those up, and then they could grant power user powers to the potentially to admins within those domains.
Okay.
If I had an Akamai University power user, what I would typically do is create a profile, the power user profile, and then I would simply assign that the Akamai University power users to the relevant branch and the relevant courses, and that would keep them in their box, so to speak. But yeah, sorry, that is, I think Beryl's quite correct to point that out, that there is a level of authority that you can give that doesn't let someone run through the whole platform.
Okay.
From a super admin's point of view, it's a single instance.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think I had a question about just like what we're talking about with the separate instances, about the GDPR compliance?
Yes, yeah.
So, compliant.
Okay. I would assume so, but I just thought we would check since we're just having a conversation.
I can send you, if you like, after the meeting, I can send you a link to their security page, and you can see all the certificates and things that they've got.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, is that you, Bonnie? You're not.
Oh, sorry, this is DJ.
Oh, DJ, sorry, DJ.
Yeah, that's okay.
When Diego was speaking before, I thought that was, sorry, I got DJ and Diego mixed up. Please forgive me. It's early in the morning here.
Oh, it's okay. And we have the same initials. It's a D and a J and a D and a J. So.
Hi, DJ. Now I know exactly who you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had some questions, didn't you, in an email that Peter's going to go through with you shortly?
Yes, I'll bring that up in a moment. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the last question I had that was more impromptu. The others I had that were sent in the email. So that's all I have.
Yeah, so I don't think there's an additional GDPR. I think what Beryl says about the GDPR, obviously applies to the whole platform. I don't think there's an extended enterprise dimension to that. I think the whole platform is compliant.
Yeah, but when they got that, though, they already had the extended enterprise. Like, they're looking at Docebo as a whole for the product. So I would say it includes the extended enterprise because that's part of their product, and it's quite standard, and a lot of people use it.
Well, and that's one of my questions is when I was looking at our marketplace, I think it was marketplace, it says we have extended enterprise, but yet we don't have a lot of this functionality. So I don't know if we have it or not.
We'll check your contract because it'll be on there. You shouldn't have it. But if it's in can you see it in the back end of your apps, with that area that Peter was just in?
Yeah, that's not there for sure.
Well, then you haven't got it. And I'll double check your contract because that would be a terrible thing. That means I owe you some money if you paid for it and you haven't got it. But I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
Yeah, we can certainly check that out, but because it is an additional app, it's an additional product. Okay, so DJ, you had some questions. Right, can visit access training courses without logging in or enrolling at all? So the public catalogs only allow site visitors to view course information. So what do you want them to see that's not in the course information?
I want them to be able to take a course
Mm-hmm.
that's available to anybody who comes to visit our site. We would make it, be special with no proprietary information, but just additional information about, let's say a certain specific product, and we could direct people to it to kind of get a preview of what our training content would be like if they ended up becoming, they getting an account and signing up and going more in depth with trainings, but just like a preview course of what they could expect to find on further products if they were to get an account and enroll.
Okay, so the short answer is you can't undertake a training course without having an account, without being logged in. The closest you can get is there is an option to put demo material in the course. So you can put videos or PDFs up there. Unfortunately, you can't put SCORM objects up, so you can't undertake the training, if you like, as part of the demo material. But that is the closest you can do. In terms of, I can't think of any way around that.
I can think of a couple.
Go on.
Correct me if I'm sorry, but first of all, you could have a self-registration where they just go into a certain area of the platform where those courses were available. Like you can have, for example, you can have normal sign-in, single sign-on, and self-registration options all on your platform. And if they logged straight in and you even have them on the wait list where you approve them first, because that's better for security. But in theory, when they get in there, they can't see anybody else anyway. And they go in and and they can access the free courses in the platform. So but they still have to be a registered user in the platform. They're self-registering. That's the difference.
They have to be logged in. Yeah.
Or you could have a link. You could have a link. We should be able to do this, shouldn't we, Peter? On the external page, because you've got that extra page. You could have a link with sample courses, a tab, and you could have links, which would actually, if they clicked on the link, it would just take them to the course in another, like the SCORM file, but it's not actually embedded in the course to complete in that sense. But they could,
hosted SCORM. Mm-hmm.
If you want to track and monitor them, well, then they have to be registered. But if you want to bypass the system, you could have just a normal link to a URL where the SCORM file is, and they could do it that way.
Okay.
So they could certainly self-register. I was taking the sort of logging in or enrolling. I was just reading that off your email, but certainly you could allow self-registration. They could get in very quickly, and they could access a page of free courses. That wouldn't be that wouldn't be a huge issue. I'm just checking.
Yeah, I think that the self-registration, it is a clever workaround, but we would probably prefer that they just only ever have one login with us, so they don't get confused as to like which one to have and that sort of thing. So I think it is a potential option, and I'll talk it over with our team and see what we'd like to do. But I think for me personally, I see it as like a possible point of confusion, and I don't want to have that. I want to just have it be super easy peasy, really, clear as to the content they can access before registering.
So I think what Beryl has, the other solution that Beryl mentioned, which is basically put the SCORM content somewhere else,
right,
and either and link it into the platform is probably the only way of doing that. I cannot.
Okay.
I've been asked this before, and I cannot think of a way of getting someone to undertake a Deshabo course. Essentially, the platform requires that you take a course in the name of someone. The other option, of course, is to just create a set of guest credentials and
Yeah.
put those on. So just say, well, look, here's a username and here's a password. Feel free to visit our free courses.
That might be in breach of the MSSA though. I'd have to check.
It could be, yes. I don't think
The Master Software Service Agreement. I think you're not supposed to do that. Everyone's supposed to have a unique login.
yeah. I mean, yes.
I can check that for you if you're interested in that option, which is kind of like a cheating workaround. But I've got a feeling it's not supposed to happen as of the agreement. Sorry, but I just thought I'd mention that. Legally, I think Docebo would be a bit upset.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I understand why. And so I can see all of that information, all of that.
I will check it for you just as a of interest now that we're talking about it, because I've never actually thought of it before. But I'm pretty sure in the MSSA it says everyone has to have a unique login or your own breach of it.
Okay.
Okay. No easy answer there, I'm afraid, DJ, but
There's some things to think about, some potential options. So I appreciate it, and further things to dig into. You mentioned the demo content. Can you show me in the platform where that would be if we wanted to add, let's say, like a video of somebody going through a course to just show this is kind of what it looks like, or something like that?
Yeah, I'm just going to dive into my very mucky sandbox, and because I know the courses there slightly better.
Yeah, while you're doing that, Peter, I'll just tell my little tale. I've just lost what sounded like quite a lucrative deal with somebody who wanted to buy Docebo, but they wanted to be able to give them sample courses as well. and I wasn't able to do it, which is a bit sad.
It's what you really want is guest access.
Yeah.
So if we, I'll pick any old course here.
Well, I can ask Docebo if they would allow it in this circumstance. I mean, you never know. I mean, I'll look into it. I'm just trying to think of workarounds for you, because with Docebo, it's kind of cool. It's so flexible. There's usually a way to figure out what you want to do. But
yeah, and the idea isn't that we just want to give away free training. We want to have the ability for prospects to say, hey, this solution that you have makes sense, and here's an example of the training, so that they can then be legitimate users. And I understand for Docebo's purposes, it's if we can't track them, we can't charge for them. So
yeah, I'm afraid people will somehow be
advanced properties demo. Okay.
Advanced properties catalog options demo material, and it will give you a list of the file types. It's in the documentation actually, but I thought it was going to give me a list of the file types, but it's things like docs, PowerPoints, videos, you can put MP4s in there as well. So you can put video in there.
Perfect.
But the one thing you can't put in there is a score, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, it's a more dynamic object than just an image or an individual doc for sure. Okay, thank you. We'll play around with that some in our sandbox, kind of see if we like how that's going.
But you know what, DJ, I love your idea, because I hadn't thought of, I mean, it's like duh, but I hadn't thought of doing a video that shows, hey, and this is what it looks like, and you could actually show them everything in the video. I mean, that's such a cool idea, and I hadn't thought of that before, so thank you.
Sure.
Sometimes the obvious eludes one.
yeah. And while that was going on, Beryl, I checked the contract and it says Cloud Enterprise, so it's not Extended Enterprise.
Yeah, but it's part of the Cloud Enterprise platform. All you're doing is adding an optional app to it.
Oh, okay.
You see, Docebo doesn't allow that to happen. It doesn't matter if you've got Extended Enterprise or not. You can do that without Extended Enterprise.
Right, but I just meant we don't have Extended Enterprise, so we can't.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about what we were just talking about. Yeah.
No. So yeah, so that would mean you don't have it at the moment. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. I was going to look for it, and I got sidetracked by the conversation.
Okay, so can we post informational content of the platform without it being tied to a learning course. There's a couple of ways. So writing and posting a blog or announcement to be seen by all learners, adding an update in a specific channel not related to a new course being added, but information or links to external resources. Right, okay. So there's a couple of points of, there are a couple of points here. I'll take the second one first. Well, let me just run through the various options here. So if you are in a course, you've got the option to put a comment or a forum widget in, but of course that's only relevant to the people in that course. So if I just drop in, I'll pick the same course here and training material. And if we add course widgets here. So I've got comments and I've got a forum. So both of those will allow my users to post or interact around a particular course. But I think your question was saying, well, these things aren't to be related to any specific course, if I've got that right. Yeah, not related to a new course being added, but information or links to external resources. So you can obviously allow your users, and if I go into the channel page, do I have a channel page? Hang on. I'll pick this one. This has got channels on it. So this is basically a channel page with a bunch of channels on it. So if users want to share something, they can obviously contribute by sharing a link or sharing a file or a screen recording here. Is that what you had in mind?
I was thinking more from the admin side of things, sending things out to folks who are, you know, following those channels. But I guess an individual user like myself, who is also an admin, you know, one of us, or we could create a user that is, you know, more universal for our team or something like that, and post the content under that persona, I should say.
Right.
That user.
Yeah. So you've got a sort of avatar
Okay.
type character who's adding content, and as content is added to a channel, you want the learners to, you want to say, hey, there's a new guide on internet security or something like that that you might want to look at or similar.
Also coach and share, right? Discover, coach and share.
Yeah. So what you would right. So there's a couple of things there. So what we can do is we can say, well, there's a couple of there's a couple of options there. There are a number of notifications.
I will say we would not want the users to be able to post. We would just want to be able to post. So we need to limit anything that other folks are posting, because yeah, we'd want to keep that corralled.
That's no problem. You can switch that on and off by channel.
Okay.
We can prevent users from doing it. Now, if the experts are doing it, then we do have a notification, I think, which will tell people. I think there is a notification that will tell people that new content has been posted to a channel, but I'm not sure. New content published. Just bear with me a moment. I may have to come back to you on this one because I can't remember exactly. I'll just save and back list. Okay, I would need to check for you, but that potentially that notification would allow us to notify the users in the channel of whenever a content item is published. So your I would just need to check the audience for that notification. I think that's probably the best way of doing it. So adding an update in specific channel. So certainly when what the expert would do is they would have access to the, I'll go back to the channel page. So the expert would be able to upload, but the users wouldn't. So that is relatively straightforward to prevent the the users from sharing content. You don't want them, if you don't want them doing it. The second part of the question is, how can I notify people? And I believe, I just need to check the conditions for that notification, but I believe that should notify everyone in the channel that the content's been added, but I will check that for you.
Okay. And let's see. How are experts designated? Can a super admin also be an expert? Is it like by course, or does it are they only an expert? Is that their role?
It's per channel. So when I set I'll just
Okay.
here. So when I set a channel up, I will say a couple of things. Let's just add one here, and we'll start Akamai test. And you'll see I've got my upload permissions here. So I'm going to say you've got three options there. One is you can have everyone with peer reviews. We just have I think you probably want the experts only one, and then you'll choose who your experts actually are. So I'll pick a user.
Okay.
Here. So this user here can upload content. And then I can restrict the visibility, so I can say only certain groups of users can see the channel. So if your users are segmented, I mean, this, say you've got your Akamai university users and your main Akamai users, you would say here, okay, well, only this one branch is to see the you know, only our I'm in the wrong platform once, I was in the other platform, but only our Akamai University branch is to see that channel. So that will restrict the experts from, only the experts can post it, and only the people in that branch can see the channel. But just need to check that notification for you, because I can't quite remember what the trigger is for it.
Hey, Diego, do we have the branches set up, or Jeff, you probably know too, are the branches set up per customer? Like the access level? Are we splitting them up that way?
I think right now they're set up by user type.
Okay.
Yeah, the branches are currently set up by user type, but we can go through and change that if necessary. Like right now, everybody has access to everything. Basically, the way it's set up.
Right, because I'm thinking we don't want the ability to like share content. We don't want the ability to comment on anything, have a forum, because there could be, you know, cross customer exposure, and we want to just cut that off. But if we could have where everyone who falls within the same customer could see each other's posts, you know, I mean, that might be interesting if we could offer that. But we wouldn't want anything to go wrong with that access level. We just want it limited to their own exclusive group.
Yeah, right now it's all shut off, so
Right.
no ability for anybody to comment on anything. The only thing they're able to do right now is share on their social media if they complete a course.
Okay.
Okay. I'm thinking there's a couple of other things that, so how else would we do that? Sorry, what am I talking about? Sorry, my mistake. Let me approach this another way. I really shouldn't type and think at the same time. I'll save that channel. Save that channel there. Here's what we can do. Here's what
better than I am, Peter. I can't even talk this morning. It's not that early. It's nearly 9 o'clock.
I think the rule is only demonstrate to be able to publish this channel here. Here we go. I just want to show you something else because I think this might answer the question in one stroke. Oh, I see why it's complaining. Let's just switch that off. There we go. Right, let me go back to my channel page. Let me go back to my channel page and let me imagine that I'm an expert and I'm sharing content, and I'll share a link just to keep it simple. And go. Give it a thumbnail. Saying that test link. I'll call this. And we'll call this link. Now, what it will ask me to do is it will say, which channel do I want to put in? I'll just pick that first one off the top of the list. And then I'll move on and I will share it. And it will ask me who I want to, oops. It gives me an option. I think I might have changed this. Right. Share a link. Just bear with me a moment. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was looking for something else there. Let me come back to you on that one, DJ. I had an idea that wasn't fully formed there, but you can, under certain circumstances, share it with users as well. So you can actually push it to users as well as channels. I'm not quite sure why that's not working there, but if you can bear with me on that one, I'll get back to you very shortly on it. I think there might be a better way of doing that.
Okay.
In terms of other interactions, if I go, so that's more, Ask the Expert is more of an interaction from the user to us. So that's probably not going to, but what we can do is we can post comments on an asset. So so if I post that, I think I would need to check exactly how that's notified. Yeah, if you can just bear with me very briefly on that one, DJ. I'll work through that and just give you some more clarity. But
Okay.
I think there is a slightly better way of doing it. So I've only sort of saw your questions just before coming in, so I didn't get a chance to thoroughly explore them. Okay, so the other one was writing and posting a blog announcement to be seen by all learners. I think that's a tricky one. There's no blog as such in there.
And a notice or a blog? Like a blog where people are going to participate, or is it just like a notice to them?
I think it's
Just information share.
Information share. Well, yeah. I mean, you could have an HTML link widget and use that. It's not a blog, but you could share the information. You're talking about off the dashboard, are you?
Yeah. So I'm assuming that you want, say, on the front page, you would want to say, okay, here is our, here's this month's news, something like that in that corner there, or something like that, or link through to an article of some description. Is that how you saw it, DJ?
I think if that is the easiest way to do it, yes. But if there are other ways that we could make it be more interactive, that would be good too. Well, no, I shouldn't say interactive. Dynamic, where it would update on its own, something like that. But if having the HTML widget, then we can just go in there and make the edits for new links whenever they get updated.
Yes. So The only thing I would suggest there, so if you did it as an HTML widget, you would have to visit the widget every time you published a blog entry and put it in there. You could, of course, iframe. There's no blogging app as such in Docebo. You could, of course, iframe another application into it. And I think you mentioned iframe somewhere else in your email. But if it's what you're saying is you just want to be able to go in and type the weekly, the weekly notice or the weekly newsletter or whatever, and just have that appear in a particular slot on the menu. So that doesn't that doesn't. Sorry, Beryl.
I say, once again, you could do it with Discover, Coach, and Share, but it would be an expensive blog, because it's 40% of your license fee, right? But you could have all the channels, like the visibility, turned off. But you could just have a conversation going. You could like make one channel available to everyone in the sense, but not actually show it on a page. And you could have a conversation going on, and you could have the Q&A thing there. It'd be like a Q&A thing going on all the time. So you could say, oh, this has just been updated on the platform, and then people can comment. I mean, it is interactive.
I think you.
Yeah, we could.
That works here, but I was just thinking that, if it was really important to you, I think we could do that.
We could do an announcements channel, and all that go in there are the updates or announcements.
Good, and it's pretty cool. And if you've got the activity feed set up, like there's an activities widget, and it's giving a constant feed of everything that happens to the user in the platform. So for example, if you're enrolled in a course, it says you've just been enrolled in such and such, things like that. But it also picks up all of the conversations going on in the channel that they have access to. So if you have one like announcements channel and you kept it updated and you had the activities widget there, you could keep a constant feed of everything that's affecting them on the platform going. Or you could just have the Q&A. I think there's a Q&A widget you can pop in there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, there's a forum widget that the channels will have Q&A, but I'm sort of imagining that you want this sort of front and center, say, in a column on the main page. Is that right?
You wouldn't want the updates, would you? Because that takes up the whole column. Usually my activities, the live stream, the activity stream that takes up, because what happens is it just goes on forever. The more stuff that happens, it just keeps scrolling down. So you can't have anything underneath it because you'd never see it. It'd always be pushed to the bottom. It's got to be at the top if you have it there. So it
but you also can't because what you want to be able to do is sit down, and the activity stream is basically driven by Docebo. You want to be able to type a weekly, like the Docebo product updates for that matter. So this week we've introduced 3 new courses, try out our new course on network security and something like that. So I mean, the short answer is there's no blogging app.
They used to be one years ago, but they took it out when they brought in Discover, Coach, and Share, and I never forgave them.
Yeah.
An HTML widget would do the job, but you've got to manually update it. That's unless you've got a link to something else, like unless you've got, like you said, an iframe, so you could have something that's dynamically loading somewhere else that you pull into that widget.
But I think, I mean, an iframe would be quite easy if you have a sort of blogging app. An iframe would be quite easy to drop in there, and that would give you, because I think the interactivity you're talking about is the author interacting with the blog, not the readers interacting with the blog, isn't it, DJ? In other words, you want to be able to just sit down, type it in every week, and boom, it's published. Is that right?
Yeah, we're looking for a way for us to communicate something to all learners, just to roll it out to them and let them know, whether it's a new update about content within the platform, or if it's an article we want to share where Akamai was mentioned in the news, or a certain product was mentioned, something like that. Just whatever it is to be kind of timely updates, or we do have some posts that we do externally, so we could share those externally, approved links for those posts as well. So it's kind of an assortment of information that we'd like to share, but just kind of seeing all the different ways that we could share it. And I think that's what we're kind of interested in, just exploring now and kind of playing around with that.
Yeah, I'm just yeah. I can't think of at the moment. I can't think of a better solution. Um, yeah. So I think that's the best we can do. I will take that one away and give it some more thought as well, because I have been asked that before, and it is a little bit of a it's something you really want to do, basically. As Beryl says,
Yeah.
there used to be a newsletter function in there.
Mm, yeah.
If they've actually, very few people used it, but I think it's sort of disappeared. It's not on my platform anymore. But
Well, and I think part of that is also so that we can have additional content available that doesn't require it to be hosted somewhere else.
yes,
So, so that if we did want to have, say, perhaps a weekly blog post or a monthly blog post, that we had a place to capture that and hold it there. Aside from like having to type it up in a PDF and put the PDF on there somewhere, something like that. So.
Peter, are there any integrations that you can think of that would make that possible, whether it's like an iframe that has a really friendly presentation of content, or like something that would, I don't know, deliver the information to Docebo in a way that makes it not, like Beryl was saying, like you just scroll until forever, like where it's just like a quick update, a little notification, a notice on their landing page when they come in, that wouldn't be that we have to host it ourselves on the Akamai server, but maybe we could use a third party connection of some kind. I don't know.
Well, if you're thinking about the use case, what you'd want to do probably is to say, okay, you need to ping a notification saying this week's newsletter is out. Check out the homepage or the newsletter page if we had a separate page when you next go into the platform, and users would log on, and there would be this week's news, and you would you'd be able to edit. You as an author would be able to edit it easily. So those are the sorts of things that are coming into my head. Can I take that one away? Nothing pops into my head. There's certainly, if it can be published on a third-party website, then, and that third-party website allows iframing, I think that's. Sorry, another thing's just popped into my head, which is things like, obviously things like Facebook and Twitter and so forth. I haven't done it for a while, but we did try and iframe a Twitter feed in.
Did it work?
Mm-hmm.
Did it work?
It's a while. We did have some problems, and I can't remember if we solved them. Let me come back to you on that one, DJ. I think it's a really good question, and I'd like to know the answer to it.
Perfect. Thank you. And
in the platform, are you aware of that? But it won't show on your dash link. You can send newsletters out from the platform to everybody. Email, you can create, like an HTML email space, and you can send newsletters out. But I don't think there's any way to show them on the dashboard. So we get creative with that, I wonder, Peter. I suppose you could no, that would be a manual thing.
Yeah.
You need a newsletter widget.
Well, I'm thinking like, I was talking to Diego about it, and it's like, do you remember RSS feeds? Like, do you remember when those were a thing where you just got like your whatever reader you used, and it would just like pull up and populate the newest stuff? I was like, I wish that we could have something like that would just dynamically update on the dashboard to be like, and we could plug in the sources and then on the back end and just have it display the newest content in maybe like a carousel, and just kind of have it update that way, instead of us needing to manually, have Diego go in there and work on the HTML in the back end and update it. So
yeah, I think it'll have
to. I can see that in your next question as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. We covered the answers, I think, for both of those. It's just content hosted, elsewhere, or content hosted on the platform, either way. And then how can we display that content, that it's not based on a course. So anything that's outside of a course, and that's just kind of the interest on how to show that, how it can be displayed, you know, what's the integration possibilities, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, we can, I mean, you know, we could probably all of us, we could have a bit of a Google to find out, you know, blogs where you could do that. I mean, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I can take that away. I think I'm quite confident that there is a solution there. I'm just not quite sure.
So I know it's kind of crazy because it puts it somewhere else, but there is an integration with WordPress.
Yeah, well, I was, you know what, you just read my mind. I was just thinking you could just have a simple blog in WordPress.
Yes, I think the WordPress integration is more around single sign-on.
No, but you can have WordPress. I think you can configure your site as an iframe. Like you, as long as
you could certainly you could certainly iframe it in. That would probably be more a question for Blake, our WordPress guy.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an integration thing. It would be more like if you had a separate a separate WordPress blog, you could iframe that into the
Let's see if we can put something more you know, structured together for you around that. But certainly WordPress, you know, would be one possible solution. So yeah, so I'm thinking with my
pretty cool blog themes too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really into blogging that much. I mean, I do have a blog on my WordPress site, but I don't do a lot of blogging, but I think they do have some pretty cool ones. That's something we could probably ask Blake, Peter, because he's
yes, yeah, I'll check in with him. But,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking my little brain is whirring.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry, DJ, not much immediate relief we can give on that front, but I do think we can we can come back with some concrete ideas.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I've done some initial Googling and looking around in the Docebo help site, and you know, it's really just kind of like running into dead ends. So I figured, you know, I'll kind of run it by you all and see if you or if Blake even can come up with some ideas of you know, maybe some creative workarounds or anything like that, or some hidden setting I didn't know about or something like that.
What you said, it's like there's nothing out of the box, but we should be able to pull something in, is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's yeah.
DJ, I think additionally, I think that RSS feeds are still in use. They are just like less popular right now since the creation of social media, but we can investigate a little bit more around that to see what we can do.
Okay.
They discontinued them, but
I think I've got
yeah, I thought they were discontinued as well. Yeah.
I think so. They just aren't nearly as popular.
right.
Oh, hey,
so,
I'm all for using old tech, all right, as long as they don't discontinue it.
can you see
Well,
my, can you see
Way to
my
call me old, Diego.
No, not at all.
I've won.
Well, and
my
there's
screen?
other notification options as well, but it requires people to be signed into certain things like Slack notifications and things like that. So
Yeah. Go on.
So
Easy peasy.
this is an example. This is a newsletter. So you can see here, this is an iframe newsletter. So this is simply iframed to the location on their website where they've, this was another time I've had a similar request, but they were more, they had a specific location we could iframe to, and they've simply dropped, we've simply dropped the newsletter into an iframe there. But it does rely on there being a platform to iframe from, which is the sort of thing we don't have here. But
Right.
I'll take a look.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
okay, so what I'll do is I'll come back to you on the experts, the notification, that the use case for sharing and notifying. We'll take a look at some options for the RSS feed or similar, the newsletter. Jeff, I have done a bit of quite a bit of work on that contract thing, and I've got some. My apologies again. It just requires that I write a very long email to explain it because there's a bit of integration involved. So I wonder if it's easier if I can come back to you guys with just a bit of a session and just walk through some of these things, because I think there's a few things there that might need a bit of explanation. But I had to go back to Deshabo a couple of times. Essentially, but very briefly, I was hoping, and I think we can do it, that the subscription bundles can handle contracts, seated contracts. So basically, if you have a bundle, it will allow anyone, whoever signs on under that contract will decrement a seat. So I think we can do that in Deshabo. The bit that I was also struggling with was getting that to appear on in a single place in Salesforce. It's just
that may not be possible, but that's all right.
But I'd like to show it to you anyway, because it may spark something else and so on. But it's just I've had a number of false starts in that piece of work, which is why it's taken a bit longer than I'd hoped. So. So what I'll perhaps do is I'm away it's a public holiday here on Monday. I'm away on Tuesday, but what I'll do is if I can give it some attention mid-late next week, and if I can book, would it be useful to book a bit of time late next week or early week after, just to follow up on all these things?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. And roughly this time suits sort of I think it's
yeah, it works.
Whatever. I can never remember, because you're in Carolina, aren't you, Jeff?
Yeah, it is it's 5:17 p.m. for me right now.
Right. Yeah, that's
3 hours behind that for DJ.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the only thing about this time, I don't know if there's a time that works better where Songman could attend. That's not the middle of the night for him.
Well, we did,
and also not the middle of the night for anyone else.
I think when we were doing the implementation, we had a golden minute at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon our time, which just suited everybody. But I think that was bad for you, Jeff, from memory. Although
what time is it there for you right now?
It's now 9:15 in the morning. So our 1 o'clock is in about 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours. So that's very bad for you, Jeff. But
I can do that. That's not a problem.
So I'll try and because we'll see if Sangman is interested. I'll try for a 1 o'clock. And if do you want me to reach out to him?
Yeah, that's fine. That would be great, because so for him, so you say it is 1 o'clock's in about 4 hours, so that's 9.
So it's 9-ish for you. I think that's about
it's 10 a.m. for him.
10 a.m. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's
He's
fine for him.
behind. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just go for with that sort of New Zealand 1 o'clock-ish slot and see if Sangman wants to come along.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll be probably probably Monday, Tuesday week sort of thing. And hopefully I can kill several birds with one stone there.
Perfect.
Okay, I better go. I've been texting. My 9 o'clock has been banging on my meeting room door. Sorry. But I've had to let him know that we've run on, so that's not a problem. But I better let him in now. But thanks guys, and I'll send a meeting invitation through.
All right, and if you'll send the recording as well, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Moy. Hello, Moy.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm looking at your blank Google page.